Two skateboarders attempt to run a hit-and-run accident scam by deliberately getting hit by a car, then demanding compensation from the driver. Their target is Betsy Kettleman, but they mistakenly follow an elderly Hispanic woman they disrespectfully call Biznatch. When they follow her to her home to demand money, they encounter serious trouble. The skateboarders try to intimidate the elderly woman, claiming they have video evidence of a hit-and-run and threatening to involve the police. One of the skateboarders is pretending to have a broken leg. They demand payment to keep quiet, taunting the woman with threats that La Policia will take a granny to jail. Their scam is interrupted when they call her Biznatch again, triggering the arrival of Tuco, the woman's grandson. Tuco is furious at the disrespect shown to his grandmother. He ambushes the skateboarders, violently subduing them and bringing them inside the house. He makes a call, instructing someone named Nacho to bring his van, indicating sinister intentions for the scammers who have unwittingly crossed a dangerous criminal. Attorney Jimmy McGill arrives at the house, knocking and announcing himself as an officer of the court. When the door opens, he finds himself at gunpoint. Jimmy immediately shows his hands, attempting to defuse the situation by appearing non-threatening. Tuco forces him inside and interrogates him, suspicious that Jimmy might be connected to the red-headed scumbags, likely referring to the Kettlemans. Jimmy explains he's an attorney who received a call about an accident. Upon seeing skateboards in the yard, he deduced his clients were involved. Tuco demands he continue talking, so Jimmy reconstructs what likely happened. His clients were in a traffic accident, followed the woman home, and crossed a line that provoked Tuco's reaction. When Jimmy asks if the skateboarders are still alive, Tuco takes him to see them. They are bound and gagged in another room. In panic, one of the skateboarders blames Jimmy, claiming the scam was his idea and that they were going to clear $2,000 easy. This revelation infuriates Tuco, who now believes Jimmy is targeting his grandmother. Under pressure, Jimmy confesses his actual scheme. He wanted to gain Craig and Betsy Kettleman as clients in an embezzlement case by having the skateboarders run their scam on Mrs. Kettleman, allowing Jimmy to rescue her and secure their business. He explains that his clients mistakenly targeted Tuco's grandmother because she drives a similar car to Mrs. Kettleman. Tuco remains suspicious and threatens Jimmy, who desperately claims to be Special Agent Jeffrey Steele, FBI undercover on Operation Kingbreaker. This lie quickly falls apart under questioning when Tuco asks what kind of drugs they sell, and Jimmy's generic answers reveal his deception. With Jimmy's FBI cover blown, Tuco threatens him with pliers. Terrified, Jimmy admits his true identity as a lawyer trolling for business. Nacho, who has arrived during the confrontation, suggests they let Jimmy go, arguing that croaking a lawyer for no reason is bad business and someone's gonna look for him. Tuco agrees to release Jimmy but plans to kill the skateboarders for disrespecting his grandmother. As Jimmy is being let out, he stops and pleads for their lives. Tuco is unmoved, declaring he'll skin them like javelinas. Jimmy employs a creative strategy, fabricating a story about the skateboarder's mother, a poor widow who works hard scrubbing floors, suffers from arthritis, and depends on a cane to walk. He claims she works only for her boys, who are the apples of her eye. Jimmy appeals to Tuco's sense of justice, reminding him that he was initially willing to let them go at his grandmother's house. When Tuco remains determined to exact punishment, Jimmy suggests proportionality, invoking the Code of Hammurabi and the principle of eye for an eye. Through skillful negotiation, Jimmy manages to talk Tuco down from murder to breaking their legs. Jimmy further negotiates this down to breaking just one leg each, arguing it's a fitting punishment since they are skateboarders and won't be able to skate for 6 months, while also ensuring they'll be permanently terrified of Tuco. Tuco accepts this compromise, declaring it tough, but fair. He proceeds to break one leg of each skateboarder with visceral brutality. Afterward, as Jimmy helps the injured scammers away, they curse him as the worst lawyer ever, to which he responds that is actually the best lawyer ever for reducing their sentence from death to 6 months probation. Jimmy arrives at his brother Chuck's house in a distressed state. Chuck appears concerned about whether Jimmy grounded himself before entering, suggesting some kind of ritual or precaution. The next morning, Jimmy finds Chuck wrapped in what's described as a space blanket. Chuck explains he's using the blanket because Jimmy brought a cell phone into the house the previous night. When Jimmy apologizes and asks where the phone is, Chuck says he threw it out the door. This interaction reveals Chuck's apparent electromagnetic hypersensitivity, a condition where he believes he's harmed by electromagnetic fields from electronic devices. Chuck has discovered a hospital bill that fell from Jimmy's pocket, showing charges for treating the skateboarder's broken legs. Jimmy is defensive, insisting that despite how it looks, him being down to my last dime and suddenly paying for broken legs, this actually represents a good thing, ultimately. He emphatically states, "I'm not backsliding." This isn't slipping Jimmy, suggesting a troubled past as a con artist that Chuck is aware of. Jimmy repeatedly asks Chuck to remove the space blanket, leading to a tense standoff that reveals the complex, strained dynamic between the brothers. Chuck eventually complies, but the scene ends with him frantically searching the yard for Jimmy's discarded phone, highlighting his extreme anxiety about electronic devices. The final chapter shows Jimmy working as a public defender, handling multiple cases in quick succession. He repeatedly faces a prosecutor who wants to charge his clients with petty with a prior, which Jimmy notes will stay on their records for life. He attempts various negotiations but is consistently rebuffed. Jimmy's frustration extends to a parking attendant who charges him for being 5 minutes over his allotted time despite having multiple 90-minute stickers. The scene reveals Jimmy's financial struggles and the mundane, degrading aspects of his current legal practice. In a brief glimpse of his office, we learn it's located behind a nail salon, a humble setting far from the prestigious law firm environment. When he checks his messages, he has 0, indicating his business is not thriving. The nail salon owner informs Jimmy that a customer is waiting. This turns out to be Nacho, who has sought Jimmy out without Tuco's knowledge. Nacho proposes a criminal partnership, suggesting they steal the Kettleman's embezzled money north of $1.5 million. He offers Jimmy a finder's fee of 10%, $100,000, to provide information on where the money is kept. Jimmy refuses, stating, "I'm a lawyer, not a criminal." He explains that he crossed a line and made a mistake but is not doing that again. Not ever. Nacho reminds Jimmy that he saved him from Tuco and implies that Jimmy already has one foot in the criminal world. Despite Jimmy's refusal, Nacho leaves his contact information, telling Jimmy it's for when you figure out you're in the game. This ominous parting suggestion hints at Jimmy's future ethical compromises and transformation into Saul Goodman.